Welcome to Ranch Beat. Every country song has a story, and we tell it. I'm James. Today, we're digging into a song that's as much a weathered road lap as it is a melody. Amarillo by Morning. By the end of this hour, you won't just know the tune. You'll know the people, the places, and the nights that made it into a country standard. Here's the hook. This song started as a small, quiet thing written for the rodeo circuit, and then became one of the most sung-along anthems across 2 generations. A track that quietly turned cowboys into choir boys. Stick with me on that one.
Quick overview before we roll. Amarillo by Morning first appeared in the early 1970s, written by 2 guys with rodeo ties, and later recorded by a young George Strait, whose version is the one most people think of today. One-line vibe, worn leather, quiet dawns, stubborn hope. Now, let's put the song into its lane. The rodeo ballad and road song tradition has roots in the post-war country and western swing eras, songs that came out of working lives, not studio experiments. These tunes weren't polished radio pitches. They were nightly companions for men and women who lived on the road. Amarillo by Morning sits squarely in that lineage. Plain language, strong image, a life that keeps going because it must.
Most rodeo songs share 3 things: a landscape, the road or a town, a routine, travel, shows, rodeos, and an emotional ledger, pride, loneliness, exhaustion. That combination makes them feel honest. In regional scenes from Texas to Oklahoma, songs like this were passed around on jukeboxes and at honky-tonks years before radio picked them up.
Listen to the title for a second. Amarillo by Morning. It's geography and time compressed into a feeling. The writer isn't describing a festival or a homecoming. He's naming the trip, the approach, the last stretch between weariness and arrival. That line already tells you everything. It's a worn path, and it has a destination that matters more for what it represents than the city itself. Let's pull 3 lines that carry all the weight. First, Amarillo by Morning, up from San Antone. In 2 short beats, you get exhaustion, movement, and a voice that's been speaking this route for years. Second, I've been kicked by a mule, I've been thrown by a bull, a blunt tally of the physical cost. And third, but I'd do it all again for the love I'm paying for. That final turn is what flips the song from complaint to devotion. It's stoic, almost religious in its dedication, but it's never melodramatic.
Here's where most folks don't realize the backstory. The song was written by people who knew that world. It didn't come from an outsider romanticizing the rodeo. It came from within the circuit. That gives the lyrics an authenticity listeners pick up on right away. And when George Strait recorded it a decade later, he didn't change the bones. He let those small, honest lines breathe.
Who's behind the song matters. The writers wrote it for the road. The breakthrough recording, the one that put it into steady rotation, belongs to an artist who had 1 foot in tradition and the other on the threshold of modern country radio. The production choices were simple: acoustic guitar, subtle steel, a vocal that sits close and unflashy. That restraint is what made the song feel like something shared across a campfire rather than shouted from a stage.
And the session players deserve credit. The recorded version's pedal steel lines and tasteful fiddle fills create this wide open space that mimics the long highway. A lot of listeners don't know that those quiet instrument calls do more heavy lifting emotionally than the chorus. They create the distance and the longing you feel when the song says you're headed into the dark and hope to arrive before morning.
Now for some studio and tour stories. The song didn't explode overnight. It crept. Early on, it showed up in rodeo barns and on late-night AM radio. When it hit larger audiences, folks who lived the life began to treat it like a ritual. They'd sing it at rodeo dance halls or play it before a run. There are dozens of stories about riders requesting it on the bus, about crowds falling quiet at the chorus.
Here's a fun bit. In some places, the song became a kind of anthem for the local rodeo crowd. It's not unusual to hear an announcer play the opening lick at the end of a night, or to see a bar full of folks humming the lines when the lights go down. That kind of cultural adoption is how a song moves from record to ritual.
There's also the myth-making. Fans started telling stories about who the song was really about, a famous writer, a particular winter tour, and those narratives stuck because the lyrics are so open to identification. That's part of the song's power. It invites projection. A young writer in Texas can hear it and imagine it's his story. A listener in Nashville can hear it and feel a nostalgic ache for a world they never lived in.
Musically, the arrangement keeps the spotlight on the narrative. The intro guitar is spare, almost like the sound of tires on the road. The pedal steel answers the vocal with a kind of second voice, not decorative, but conversational. The tempo never rushes. It's measured, which gives the lyrics room to settle. Vocally, the delivery is intimate. It's not about big ranges or ornamentation. It's about telling.
That intimacy is why listeners across generations connect to it. It sits in that sweet spot between country authenticity and universal storytelling. Whether you grew up on ranches or in apartment towers, the lines land because they're about making a living and keeping faith with what you do, even when it's hard.
Let's talk covers and legacy. Over the years, artists from traditional country singers to Americana acts have put their stamp on the song. Some slow it down, some lean into the Western swing elements, others strip it back to voice and guitar. Each interpretation highlights a different facet, the toughness, the tenderness, or the wanderer's resignation. That versatility is the hallmark of a standard.
And culturally, the song lives in a dozen unexpected places. Rodeo playlists, late-night radio, funeral set lists for people who made their life on the circuit, and TV montages that need a voice of the open road. It's the kind of song that can be background and sermon at the same time.
Most folks don't know the song's quieter influence. It helped popularize a vocal approach in country, that unpretentious close mic storytelling, which later artists leaned on. You can trace a line from this kind of performance to a more general appetite for songs that sound lived in rather than designed for the chart.
Before we wrap, here's the takeaway. Amarillo by Morning matters because it turns a working life into something both specific and universal. The recording choices respected the song's plain-spoken core. Performers kept it honest, and the fans turned it into a ritual. Next time you hear it, listen for the spaces between the phrases. That's where the story lives. Now you'll never hear this song the same way again. If you picked up something new today, we'd love to hear your favorite line. Hit subscribe, leave a comment with the lyric that sticks with you, and tell us what song you want us to break down next. We read them, and we pick one each episode.
Also, if you're on Instagram or TikTok, use the caption, "Every country song has a story. We tell it." Koost. #RanchBeat. Tag us and we'll share great responses. And if you're into Gear Talk, tell us which version's arrangement you love and why.
That's the full story behind Amarillo by Morning. The meaning, the music, and everything that shaped it. This is Ranch Beat, where every country song has a story.
And we tell it. See you next time.